I walked into my own birthday party and saw my husband kissing my assistant. Not a peck, a real kiss. Kane's hands were in Hannah's hair, and she was pressed against him like she belonged there. The conference room at my marketing firm fell silent. 20 employees stared at me. The happy birthday Miriam banner mocked me from above their heads. Hannah pulled away first, her lipstick smeared. She didn't look guilty. She looked triumphant. Kane's face went pale, but he didn't let go of her waist. "Miriam, I can explain," he started. My voice came out steady, which surprised me. "Explain what? That you're sleeping with the woman I trained, the woman I gave a job to when no one else would hire her?" Hannah stepped forward, adjusting her dress. "Kane and I are in love. We've been together for 8 months. He was going to tell you today, actually. 8 months. While I worked 16-hour days building my company. While I paid for his mother's medical bills. While I believed we were trying for a baby." The cake sat on the table, chocolate with raspberry filling. My favorite. I'd ordered it myself because Kane forgot. Kane came home that night with flowers, roses, Hannah's favorite, not mine. I preferred to tulips. He'd forgotten that too. "We need to talk," he said, setting them on our kitchen counter. I was already packing his clothes into garbage bags. His favorite suits, his collection of watches I'd bought him over the years, everything. "Miriam, stop, let me explain." I kept folding. "Hannah's pregnant." My hands froze on his cashmere sweater, the one I'd given him last Christmas. "She's keeping it. I want to be there for my child. My child, not our child." The baby we'd been trying for never happened because he'd been careful with me and careless with her. "I need you to sign the divorce papers," he continued. "My lawyer will send them tomorrow. I'm asking you to be reasonable about this." Reasonable? I turned to face him. "You want me to be reasonable after what you've done?" He had the audacity to look annoyed. "You were always working, Miriam. What did you expect?" I hired a private investigator the next morning. His name was Victor Chen, and he came highly recommended. "I need everything," I told him. "Every text, every dinner, every hotel room. I want to know how deep this goes." Victor nodded, taking notes. "And your assistant, Hannah? I need her background too. Everything she's told me. I want verified." 3 days later, Victor called me into his office. He spread photos across his desk. Kane and Hannah at restaurants I'd paid for with my credit card. Kane and Hannah at a beach resort during a business trip I'd funded. "There's more," Victor said quietly. He showed me bank statements. Kane had been transferring money from our joint account to a separate account. $20,000 over 6 months. "He's been planning this," I whispered. Victor pulled out another file. About Hannah. Her real name is Hannah Morrison. She's been married twice before. Both marriages ended with substantial settlements after alleged affairs with wealthy men. My lawyer, Patricia Flores, reviewed the evidence with sharp eyes. "This is a pattern," she said. "Hannah targets successful women, gets close to their husbands, and orchestrates affairs. She's done this at least 3 times that we can verify." I felt sick. Why didn't her previous victims expose her? Patricia leaned back in her chair. "Shame, embarrassment. Most wanted to move on quickly. One woman did try to sue, but Hannah disappeared before the case went anywhere." She tapped the divorce papers Kane's lawyer had sent. "These papers are incredibly one-sided. He wants 50% of your business, the house, and alimony. Meanwhile, he's been stealing from you for months." My business, the company I'd built, from nothing. "What are my options?" Patricia smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "We have options, many options. But first, I need you to do something that might feel wrong." She slid a paper across her desk. "Sign the papers." I signed the papers exactly as Kane wanted. No fight, no argument. He looked shocked when his lawyer called to confirm. That afternoon, he showed up at my office with Hannah. They wanted to clear the air before he moved out. Hannah sat in the chair where she used to take notes during my meetings. "I hope we can all be mature about this," she said, her hand resting on her stomach. There was no visible bump yet. Kane shifted uncomfortably. "I'll be out by Friday. Hannah and I found an apartment." I nodded calmly. "That's fine. I've actually been thinking about closing the business anyway. Selling everything. Starting fresh somewhere new." Hannah's eyes widened slightly. "Closing the business?" Kane leaned forward. "What do you mean, closing? The divorce settlement says you get 50% of the business value." I interrupted. "If there's no business, there's nothing to split." I watched the panic flash across both their faces before I smiled. "I'm joking, of course." While Kane packed his things, I met with Victor again. "I found something interesting," he said, pulling up a file on his computer. "Hannah's first husband filed a police report 6 years ago. He claimed she'd stolen jewelry and forged his signature on loan documents. The case was dropped when he suddenly withdrew the complaint." Victor clicked to another document. "Her second husband died in a car accident 8 months after their wedding. She inherited everything. The police investigated but found no evidence of foul play." My blood ran cold. "You think I think she's dangerous," Victor interrupted. "More dangerous than a simple gold digger. She's methodical, patient, and she's very good at making problems disappear." He showed me more photos. Hannah meeting with Kane's business partner, Marcus Webb. Hannah having coffee with Kane's mother at her nursing home. She's not just after Kane, I realized. She's building a whole new life with my life. Patricia helped me transfer assets before the divorce was finalized. The business was restructured. My name was removed from most accounts and replaced with my brother's name. Properties were sold to shell companies I controlled. "Everything looks worthless on paper," Patricia explained. "Kane will get his 50% of nothing, technically. But that wasn't enough for me. I wanted Hannah to feel what she'd done to me. And to those other women. I started making calls to Hannah's previous victims. The first woman, Lydia Park, was hesitant to talk. "I moved on," she said. "I don't want to relive that nightmare." I understood, but I pushed gently. "She's doing it again, to me, and she's pregnant with my husband's baby." There was a long silence. Then Lydia said, "She wasn't really pregnant with my husband's baby. She lost it conveniently, right after the divorce was final. Or maybe there never was a baby at all." Within a week, I had 3 women ready to talk. Lydia, whose husband, Hannah, had seduced while working as their housekeeper. Monica Reeves, whose marriage ended after Hannah worked as her personal trainer. And Jennifer Cross, whose husband died in that suspicious car accident. We met at my house after Kane moved out. "She follows the same pattern," Monica explained. "She gets hired in a position of trust. She learns everything about the wife's schedule, her weaknesses, her marriage problems. Then she moves in." Jennifer added, "And she's always pregnant, always. It gives her leverage, makes the husband feel responsible." Lydia pulled out old documents. "I hired an investigator 2 years ago. He found medical records suggesting Hannah had her tubes tied when she was 23. She can't get pregnant." I stared at the papers. "So every pregnancy has been fake?" Jennifer nodded. "She probably plans to have a miscarriage in a few months. Tragic, devastating, but it bonds the man to her even more." I confronted Kane carefully. He was picking up the last of his things from the garage. "How far along is Hannah?" I asked casually. He brightened a little. 12 weeks. We heard the heartbeat last week." 12 weeks. right on schedule with what the other women described. That's wonderful. Which doctor are you using? I'd love to send a gift. Kane's smile faltered. Hannah's private about medical stuff. She doesn't want anyone knowing her doctor's information. Of course she didn't, because there was no doctor. I changed tactics. I hope everything's okay with the baby. Has she had any complications? I remember Monica Reeves mentioned that Hannah had some health issues. Kane's face went pale. How do you know Monica Reeves? I shrugged. Professional networks. Small world. I left him standing there, confused and worried. The next day I sent Hannah a gift basket. Expensive baby items, maternity vitamins, and a card that read, "For your growing family. Best wishes from all of us who've been where you are." Hannah called me 2 days later. Her voice was tight. We need to talk. In person. We met at a coffee shop near my office. She arrived wearing expensive maternity clothes that were clearly too large for her still flat stomach. I don't appreciate you contacting Kane's family and friends, she said immediately. I haven't contacted anyone. I lied smoothly. Though I'm surprised you're worried about it. Unless you have something to hide. Hannah's jaw clenched. I know what you're doing, Miriam. You're trying to turn everyone against me, but Kane loves me. We're having a baby. Nothing you do will change that. I sipped my coffee. I'm throwing a party next month, a celebration for your pregnancy. I want to invite all of Kane's family and our mutual friends. It's the least I can do to show there's no hard feelings. Hannah's eyes narrowed. Why would you do that? I smiled. Because I'm moving on. And I want everyone to see that I'm happy for you both. Will you come? Victor found Hannah's real medical history. It took weeks and cost me thousands, but it was worth it. She had a tubal ligation at 23, he confirmed, sliding the documents across his desk. But there's more. She's been to 4 different doctors in the past 3 months, each time claiming she's pregnant. She gets ultrasound printouts and leaves before any real examination. I studied the papers carefully. She's collecting fake proof. Victor nodded. She's also been buying hormone supplements online. They can mimic pregnancy symptoms, nausea, mood swings, even positive pregnancy tests, if used correctly. My phone buzzed. It was Kane texting me about the party. He seemed excited, almost grateful, that I was being mature about everything. He had no idea what was coming. Patricia reviewed everything that evening. This is good, but we need more. We need her to confess or slip up publicly. That party you're planning, it needs to be perfect. I pulled out my laptop and showed her the guest list. Everyone who matters will be there. Kane's family, his business partners, our friends, and 3 special guests Hannah won't expect. I didn't spread rumors. I simply asked questions. At the grocery store, I ran into Kane's mother, Dorothy. How exciting about the baby, I said warmly. Hannah must be seeing an excellent doctor. Which practice is she using? I'd love to recommend them to my cousin. Dorothy looked confused. She hasn't told me her doctor's name. Says she wants to keep it private until the 2nd trimester. I nodded sympathetically. That's unusual, but understandable. Though I'm surprised she's not showing yet, at 14 weeks. Some women just carry differently. I planted the same seeds with Kane's sister, his business partner, even the receptionist at his new office. Nothing accusatory, just gentle observations that made people think. Meanwhile, Hannah was getting paranoid. She called me 3 times to confirm details about the party. Who exactly is coming? She demanded. Just close friends and family, I assured her. People who care about you and Kane. People who want to celebrate your happiness. The truth was coming for her, and she could feel it. The party was planned for a Saturday evening at an upscale venue downtown. I spared no expense. Catering, decorations, even a photographer to capture the special moments. Kane kept thanking me. "You're being so gracious about this," he said, over the phone. "I know it can't be easy." If only he knew. Patricia had everything ready. Legal documents, medical records, testimony from the 3 other women. We'd even hired a process server to attend as a guest. The morning of the party, Hannah posted on social media about how blessed she felt. She wore a fake pregnancy bump in the photos, held Kane's hand, and smiled like she'd won everything. By the end of tonight, that smile would be gone. Jennifer, Monica, and Lydia arrived early to help me set up. "Are you sure about this?" Lydia asked nervously. "It's going to be brutal. I thought about my birthday party, about Kane's hands in Hannah's hair, about 8 months of lies. I'm sure." Hannah and Kane arrived exactly on time. She wore a flowing dress that emphasized her fake bump, her hand protectively over her stomach. Kane looked proud, his arm around her waist. "Miriam, this is beautiful," Hannah said, surveying the decorated venue. "You really didn't have to do all this." I hugged her, feeling the padding under her dress. "Of course I did. A baby is such a blessing. We should all celebrate new life." The guests arrived in waves. Kane's mother and sister, his business partners, our former mutual friends. Everyone seemed awkward at first, unsure how to act around the ex-wife and the new girlfriend. But I played the perfect hostess, making everyone comfortable, keeping drinks flowing, ensuring Hannah was the center of attention. "A toast," I announced once everyone had arrived. I raised my glass toward Hannah, to new beginnings, to honesty, and to the truth finally coming to light. Hannah's smile wavered slightly, but she raised her glass. She had no idea what was coming. After dinner, I dimmed the lights. "I've prepared a little presentation," I announced, "a celebration of Hannah's journey to motherhood." The screen lit up behind me, but instead of baby photos or sentimental quotes, security footage began to play. Hannah entering a medical supply store, Hannah purchasing fake ultrasound equipment online, Hannah meeting with a man who sold forged medical documents. Kane's face went white. "Miriam, what is this?" Hannah stood up quickly. "This is ridiculous. You're crazy. Kane, we're leaving." But the doors were blocked by guests, all staring at the screen. The next video showed Hannah at a pharmacy, asking about hormone supplements that could fake pregnancy symptoms. Then footage of her stuffing padding into her dress before meeting Kane's mother last week. "That's not... I can explain," Hannah stammered. Victor stepped forward from the crowd. "These are all time-stamped and verified. Would you like to see the medical records proving you can't actually have children, Miss Morrison?" Before Hannah could respond, Lydia stepped into the light. "Hello, Hannah. Remember me? You seduced my husband 5 years ago. You claimed to be pregnant then too." Hannah's face drained of color. "I don't know what you're talking about." Monica moved forward next. "You were my personal trainer. You destroyed my marriage and claimed to be carrying my husband's twins. Twins that mysteriously disappeared after the divorce was finalized." Jennifer was last. "My husband died 8 months after you married him. Convenient timing, wasn't it? Right after he changed his will to leave you everything." Kane was staring at Hannah like he'd never seen her before. "This isn't true. Tell them it's not true." Hannah's eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape. "They're lying. Miriam paid them to lie because she's jealous and bitter." I pulled out a folder. "These are medical records from 4 different doctors you visited in 3 months. Each time you claimed to be pregnant. Each time you left before any real examination. Would you like to explain that?" Kane grabbed Hannah's arm. "Show me your stomach, right now." Hannah jerked away. "I will not be humiliated like this. You're supposed to love me, Kane. You're supposed to protect me from her." But Kane wasn't listening anymore. His hands shook as he reached for the padding visible under her dress. Hannah slapped his hand away, but it was too late. Everyone had seen. "It's not what you think," Hannah said desperately. "I had complications. The doctor said I needed to wear support." "You're not pregnant," Kane said flatly. "You were never pregnant." Hannah's mask finally cracked. The sweet, vulnerable woman disappeared, replaced by something cold and calculating. "So what? You were an easy target, Kane. A successful wife, a weak husband, a business worth millions. You think you're the first. You're just another stupid man who thought with his—" She caught herself, but the damage was done. Everyone in the room had heard it. Kane's mother was crying. His sister looked disgusted. His business partners were already moving toward the door, distancing themselves from the scandal. Patricia stepped forward with her briefcase. "Kane, those divorce papers you signed? They're void. You obtained them through fraud and adultery. Miriam's lawyers filed for annulment of the divorce settlement this morning." Kane's lawyer, who'd been standing near the back, pushed forward. "That's not possible. We had a signed agreement." Patricia smiled. "An agreement based on false pretenses." Hannah claimed to be pregnant. She claimed to be a victim of a loveless marriage. All lies. We have evidence that she manipulated Kane, stole from joint accounts, and committed fraud. She handed papers to the process server, who formally served Hannah. "You're being sued for theft, fraud, and emotional distress. The 3 women here are filing a class action lawsuit as well." Hannah's face twisted with rage. "You can't prove anything. I'll fight this. I'll destroy you, Miriam." I met her eyes calmly. "You already tried that. Now it's my turn." Security guards I'd hired moved forward. "Miss Morrison, you need to leave." Now, the party ended in chaos. Guests left quickly, whispering to each other. Kane sat alone at a table, his head in his hands. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "I trusted her," he said when I approached. "I left you for her. I gave up everything." I sat down across from him. "You gave up nothing, Kane. I built this company. I paid your mother's medical bills. I supported your failed business ventures for 6 years. What did you give up except a wife who loved you?" He looked up, tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry." I stood up. "You're right. It doesn't fix anything. But you'll have plenty of time to think about it while you're looking for a new job." Kane's face went pale. "What?" Marcus Webb, Kane's business partner, approached. "I'm buying you out, Kane. After tonight, I can't have you associated with the company. It's bad for business." I walked away, leaving Kane to process what he'd lost. By Monday morning, the story had spread. Someone at the party had recorded everything and posted it online. "Con artist fakes pregnancy to steal millions," read one headline. "Serial home wrecker exposed at baby shower," read another. My phone rang constantly. Reporters, lawyers, even women claiming Hannah had targeted their families too. Patricia fielded most of the calls, but I agreed to one interview with a local journalist. "Why did you plan such an elaborate exposure?" she asked. I chose my words carefully. "Because women like Hannah rely on shame and silence. Her victims were too embarrassed to speak up, too hurt to fight back. I wanted to show that we don't have to accept being destroyed quietly." The interview went viral. Within days, I received hundreds of messages from women thanking me, sharing their own stories of betrayal and manipulation. Hannah, meanwhile, had disappeared. Her apartment was emptied, her phone disconnected, but I knew she hadn't gone far. Victor was still tracking her. Patricia's team worked quickly. They froze Hannah's accounts, seized assets she'd stolen, and filed liens against anything she owned. "She's broke," Patricia reported during our meeting. "The money she took from Kane, the jewelry, even the car she was driving, all seized. She has nothing. But it wasn't enough. I wanted to make sure she could never do this again. I hired a reputation management firm to ensure that any time someone searched Hannah Morrison online, they'd find the truth. Every article, every video, every piece of evidence was catalogued and indexed. She can't run from this, the firm's director assured me. This follows her forever. Kane had lost everything too. His business partnership was dissolved, his assets divided in the real divorce settlement. He'd moved into a small apartment and was working as a consultant. Trying to rebuild his reputation, he called me once. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness," he said. "But I need you to know. I see what I did. I see what I threw away." Victor found Hannah working at a restaurant in Nevada under a fake name. "She's already trying to attach herself to a new target," he reported. "A wealthy widower who owns 3 car dealerships." I flew to Nevada that weekend. The restaurant was upscale, the kind of place Hannah always gravitated toward. I sat in her section watching her work. She didn't recognize me at first with my new haircut and sunglasses. But when she brought my water, she froze. "Hello, Hannah," I said quietly. She glanced around nervously. "What do you want?" I slid a folder across the table. "I wanted to make sure your new employer knows who you really are. I've also contacted the widower you've been flirting with. He's received a very detailed file about your history." Hannah's hands shook. "You've taken everything from me. What more do you want?" I leaned forward. "I want you to feel what your victims felt. I want you to know that someone is always watching. I want you to never feel safe enough to do this again." Kane showed up at my office 6 months after the party. He looked different. Thinner, older, humbled. "I'm not here to ask for anything," he said immediately. "I just wanted you to know I'm in therapy. I'm trying to understand how I let myself be manipulated." I gestured for him to sit. "Hannah was good at what she did, but you made choices, Kane. You chose to betray me. You chose to steal from our accounts. You chose to believe her lies, because they were easier than facing our real problems." He nodded slowly. "I know. And I'm not making excuses. But I need you to know something. Hannah contacted me last week." My attention sharpened. "What did she want?" Kane pulled out his phone, showing me messages. Hannah was apologizing, claiming she'd changed, asking for another chance. "She's desperate," he said. "She's trying to manipulate me again, but I'm not falling for it this time. I wanted you to know in case she tries something." Hannah's desperation grew. She created fake social media accounts, claiming she was the real victim. She posted edited versions of events, painting herself as a woman in love who'd been destroyed by a jealous ex-wife. Some people believed her. The internet loves a comeback story, especially when it involves a supposed underdog. But Patricia and I were ready. We released the full video from the party, unedited and complete. We shared testimony from all of Hannah's victims. We provided medical records, financial documents, everything. The truth was stronger than her lies. Hannah tried one last move. She filed a lawsuit against me for defamation and emotional distress. Patricia laughed when she saw the papers. "She's representing herself. She can't afford a lawyer anymore." The case was dismissed within weeks. The judge reviewed the evidence and ruled that truth is an absolute defense against defamation. Hannah was ordered to pay my legal fees. She couldn't. She declared bankruptcy 2 months later. A year after my birthday party, I stood in my newly renovated office. The business had grown. Without Kane's bad decisions and Hannah's manipulations, we'd doubled our revenue. I'd promoted 3 women to senior positions, including a new assistant named Grace, who was brilliant and trustworthy. Lydia, Monica, and Jennifer had become close friends. We met monthly for dinner, supporting each other through healing and growth. Kane sent me a letter on what would have been our wedding anniversary. He'd moved to another state, started a new career, and was seeing a therapist regularly. He'd also joined a support group for people who'd been manipulated by con artists. "I'll never forgive myself," he wrote, "but I'm learning to live with what I did." I didn't respond. Some bridges shouldn't be rebuilt. Hannah had disappeared completely. Victor's last report placed her in Colorado, working minimum wage jobs and living in a small studio apartment. She was alone, broke, powerless. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt peace. I'd taken back my life, my dignity, and my power. I'd stopped a predator from hurting anyone else. And I'd learned that revenge, when it's really justice, doesn't make you cruel. It makes you free.